Hey guys, Cool Blind Way back. I'm Rick.
I'm Maggie.
We're back with Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. Last time on?
Cybertrain, closed shell. Is that what they called it?
No, Cyberbrain.
Cyberbrain.
Not train.
Closed shell syndrome. Children being used to break down and build walls.
Yeah, no, a really cool episode, as it always is. Have you seen Promised Neverland? You started it, right?
Yeah, I've seen some of it.
Okay. Children in anime. There's just something about it.
Terrifying.
You need to watch Gundam, Evangelion.
I watched some Claymore. And some Violet Evergarden or Everdeen or something. I haven't finished either of those.
You don't finish anything.
Well,
you're like your brother.
I watch things to a point, and then there's an episode where it's like, oh, shit just got real a bit. Now I can't watch this around the child anymore.
Yeah, I can't blame you too much.
I don't watch this with a bunch of overgrown children. I watch it with real children.
It took me like 10 years to finish Cowboy Bebop because I couldn't watch the last 2 episodes.
I still haven't seen the end of Cowboy Bebop. You just, quit showing it to me.
I can only take so much. But I can take more of this show. So let's watch.
Man, I could have seen that being lead-in for lots of different angles.
That episode went all kind of places. Just like our Tachikoma.
Which turns out really did just run off and have a Tachikoma day.
It did. No, it started off as whimsical, and then it got sad, and then it got... I don't know.
I thought it was some sort of basically a AI teaching program to a point, to improve their empathy drive thing, to be able to fake it better, basically.
Yeah.
And
so it seemed like the natural oil that Bato was putting in it, the proteins mixed with its circuits somehow, and that's what resulted in the abnormal behavior. Or that's what they speculate anyway?
Yeah, it seemed like it kind of, at least in the beginning, seemed like it kind of, you know how you wake up from those dreams being like, oh, I need to get to school or something like that? It seemed like it kind of woke up and was like, oh, I need to, after mission, everybody needs to...
Debrief.
Mm-hmm. And then just kept kind of following down that path in a rather dreamlike state. It was kind of weird. Just kind of tottering along.
Yeah, it's a weird juxtaposition of how human and inhuman it is. It says and talks like a human, but then when it's dealing with a dog, it's like, well, this is irrelevant, so it just tosses it to the side, Which some humans would do. But hopefully you think that that's an element of humanity of that a human wouldn't do that sort of thing.
No, I think a human could very easily do that. But just not a fully grown human. When babies are really, really little, when they pick up kittens by a bit of their back and a leg, and they just pick it up because they're ah, and they love it, and they just they don't realize that the way they're picking up could cause pain or something like that.
Yeah, they don't understand the concepts of life and death.
Yeah, exactly. But that doesn't make them any less human. They're learning at such an astounding rate.
But you get older humans that can abuse animals too.
Well, yeah, but not just about animals. It's just that lack of it's they're growing inside so much they're not actually taking in.
Well, it's just such a selfish look on life at first, right? Just
they're basically wired to try to keep themselves
and wants
alive.
And survival over anything else.
So would you want to be uploaded into a Neil Breen brain box someday?
Oh, I wonder, is the film, is everyone who watches it, do they see something different? Or are they all seeing the same thing?
That was my thought, too. Because, you can summon feelings and emotions in people. If you were just, putting out a program, basically, that would summon the same feelings in everybody, they would almost have to experience different things to get to those feelings. Whereas if you show them all the same thing, people can have very mixed reactions.
Well, being inside this box, like, you could, I mean, it's their ghosts. It's not their brain necessarily, but, like, you could release happiness chemicals or whatever and, like, force them to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
No matter what they saw. But, I mean, I guess that's just true of art in general. Like, everyone sees it differently. And it evokes different emotional responses to different people. Like, that's what makes good art.
Which made me think of exactly the Red Dwarf book, and also an episode, Better Than Life, where it's basically, you could think of it as basically like a cyber drug, but they frame it as a video game, a VR video game, where you go in and it's better than life. Everything's wonderful. You're happy. You have exactly what you want, what you need. Like, it taps, basically the video game taps into like the deepest parts of your brain that it knows how to please you, even if you don't really realize what you truly need to be happy. This video game does it, and it becomes like a crazy, super addictive drug, and is black market and super dangerous and outlawed and such. And it's really hard to leave it's like you can always leave the game, but like, I mean, it's like some games nowadays, it's like, oh, I'll play just one more game. Or one more day or something.
One
like
more
that.
turn.
Yeah, one more turn. One more turn. Mr. Civilization.
Yeah, I mean, obviously The Matrix is inspired by a lot, including Ghost in the Shell. But like in The Matrix, where I can't think of the one character's name, but it's like, why would I go out here and be cold and hungry when I'm in here I can eat steak and drink wine, you know? Where having those two different conflicting philosophies, where I guess realism, I'm not sure what the opposite of realism is. Not sensationalism, but
yeah, and that's kind of what happens in the Red Dwarf in the book. I remember, at least in the book, like, I think it was literally an android that like tried to go in and rescue them, but then the video game kind of tapped into him and like gave him what he really wants and what really makes him happy, which was a giant room to clean forever. It was amazing. But there was easy pathways always to leave, just like in that, where it's like you could just, take that exit.
yeah.
There was always a path out, but the people themselves did not want to leave, which is...
Well, and that happens today. I mean, there's all kind of roots of escapism, right? There's video games, there's drugs, there's music. Like, there's all kind of things that people can use to escape from the unpleasant things in life, and like just lean into that more and more until it's impossible to face any of it.
Yeah. And coming out is often a lot more painful, because like in the Better Than Life episode, when they came out of the video game, they all had human bodies and they were all super emaciated and weak and terribly unhealthy and unhappy.
Well, and I mean, with that and with drugs, like,
withdrawals.
Well, if it's only something that's happening to themselves, like, who has the choice in that, Like, if they choose to stay in this place until they die, is that something they should be able to choose? Or is that something that, like, they need to be forcibly taken away from and given help or therapy? Or,
I mean, at a certain point, it's like that sounds just like kind of like a drain on society. It's like, what do you just have the bring out your dead carts going around to pick up the people that have chosen to go better than life?
I don't know. I mean, people commit suicide in other ways,
I don't know if it feels slightly wrong, just on like in an argument standpoint, to connect this with suicide, because I feel like suicide can be acts of desperation and such. It's not necessarily like it's not. I doubt anybody that chose this suicide was activating the pleasure parts of their brain at the time. Like,
no, I mean, it's just choosing something other than life, I guess, right? I guess the question here would be, at the point where you're watching the movie, do you still have choice? Is it like not a hypnotism, but like it overrides your brain because it messes with the chemistry of it, and therefore, like, you have no choice. Like, you know, if you're super drunk or you're roofied or something, like, your ability to decide and make choices is limited. Like, I could see this as doing that more, or is there complete choice?
I think it has a lot to do with the person's philosophy. Like, the major, she was able to experience it and come out and basically state her philosophy on what truly matters. And she's put thought into that. And if someone was thrust into that position of experiencing something so important, if they hadn't have already put that sort of importance into, like, what their dreams are, how reality compares to the cyber experience, then it could be a situation where they make the decision without realizing that they made it. Like, I think she's especially equipped to handle that situation just because of her history and past and growing up in this cyber experience.
Well, and some decisions are easier than others. I don't know how it applies to her biology, but, like, if I were to decide to just stop eating, and, like, I just stopped eating until I died, like, that is possible, but everything in my mind and my body is working against that outcome, right? Like, that's a very hard choice to make. Whereas, like, eating, you know, another thing of sugar is an easy choice to make because your body rewards you for eating that, and it releases certain chemicals.
So you're basically saying that, like, you can make a cognitive choice, but then your body also has a lot of vote in that as well. Yeah,
and one of the reactions, I can't remember which one it was, but we were talking about, like, biting your finger to breaking your bone or biting it off is about the same jaw strength as it takes to bite a carrot, but your brain just won't let you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just has safety wires to stop that. And I wonder if the major was only immune here because she lacks that biology, or if it's a thing of willpower, or if it's her philosophies that stop her from doing it. Like, what? I mean, she still cried, and even the Tachikoma cried.
Yeah.
At the grave site.
I don't know if that was just, like, a, you know, to try to make us question, like, what's happening here? It's like, is she growing a ghost? But I think the major was able to experience it like any other person in the audience, basically. I think it gave her a very important experience to herself.
I do love the fact that films and art can make you experience and feel things that you otherwise couldn't, or empathize with things that would be difficult to otherwise.
With the technology at the point it is in this, creating a mini theater with your own brain in order to make your perfect creation, why, like, is that the only way he could get it translated into a form that other people could experience? Like, how expensive are these things? He's a brain in a box.
He is, yeah, but there were copies made, it seems like. Like, his film was distributed this way. It's just this one actually has him in it because he wants to watch the film too, or he wants to watch people watch the film.
He wants to watch their reactions.
Maybe. But yeah, it's interesting that they're forcing it to be shut down, and that's going to wake these people up that are around. And then, like, he himself is going to be put in basically a cyber prison. I wonder, like, what's the term limit on that, you know? Like, you can't have a life sentence that way because he'll just live forever, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think we talked about this before. It's like, what is life, and, like, how do you deal with?
I mean, I think his brain is still in that box. His ghost is in the box, and I think his brain is actually in that box. So I guess the brain would degrade over time, probably, if left unimpeded. It just maybe it takes longer. I don't know.
Like, are you talking about, like, they just store him basically until he turns to mush?
Well, it's kind of like in Demolition Man, right? Where they sentence them to rehabilitation and they freeze them, and then they, like, send signals or whatever in their mind to, like, rehabilitate them while they're frozen.
Really? They explain that in the movie? Because I don't remember that bit. I remember them thinking that basically when they're, like, you remember nothing. Like, when they're iced.
Yeah.
And then he was like, he came out of it later and he's like, I remember everything.
I mean, that's the idea behind the program, I think. So like, is it a similar sort of thing where they're put in this loop of rehabilitation and then eventually let out? Because if, you know, there is a certain point, like the Tachikoma said, where, you know, I can't die. If humans can be free of that in a digitized form that could just last forever, like, how do you punish something that can't die and has no time limit?
I mean, at that point, I'd start worrying about...
You turn them into a cat. Like Salem.
That's not bad, actually. That's not a bad idea. Make their family members then take care of scooping out their poop for the next couple hundred years. Like, but... dang you. I've forgotten.
Sorry.
I was talking about... Oh, that's it.
Derailed.
Basically, I'd start worrying about who's deciding what ideal human behavior is and what the pattern is for that, because we already have seen that people can mess with memories, alter perceptions. So what's to stop them from basically altering your personality on that level to make it so it's like, oh, you'll never steal again, or you're now more of an ideal citizen for us, for this social climate, for this at this point in time.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the idea of shock therapy, right? It's like, if your brain doesn't work the way we want it to, we're going to zap it until it does.
Yeah, or we're just going to drug you.
You thought you were gay?
Yeah, or we're going to rip out organs or adjust you any way we see fit to make you fit with our social standard for you.
You're a woman who's interested in sex? Another great episode as always. Curious.
But banana fish, that was a thing.
Oh.
Remember?
No. Remind me.
In
this show?
I swear it was either in this one or...
I know about Babblefish.
No. Where was it? Like, I swear it was.
Like a movie? Is it...
No.
What was it?
I know it from something. Like, I recognize it. I thought it was from this show, but... I'm not seeing it. I take terrible notes.
You do?
Because I get...
Similar to your brother.
You
got your names, and not much else.
Well,
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I write down everything. I have 4 pages for this episode.
Yes. But I remember shit and you don't, apparently.
Maybe. No, I don't remember any banana fish.
Fucking American Empire. Oh, yeah, I write down some things.
Don't need no banana fish and no tailpipe.
What was that from? I swear. It's like it was a code word for something that was semi-important in the episode. Like a type of...
Maybe this is all just a simulation and you've been activated. That was your word to come back out. Thank you guys so much for watching our reaction to Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. Fun episode as always. I'm sure the next 4 will be as well. And you could watch the reactions right now over at patreon.com/blindwave. Check it out. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.